Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to Recipe Redemption. I'm Mike Uyak. It's been a little while since I've posted a video um, because life happened. Um, but hopefully things are calming down to a dull roar. I should be able to post some more videos in the new year on a more consistent basis. Just as a heads up, I'm planning a trip to France this year, and rather than just posting photos, I am going to make every effort to actually record videos on this trip to show you a little bit more and some more of my experience with the food that I eat there. But in the meantime, to tide you over until I actually start doing some more recipes, nuggets. It's lunchtime, and I thought it's a good time to talk about nuggets. Now, we've done an episode about nuggets before, but I thought we could talk a little more about, regular nuggets and uh, what to replace them with. Now, it's okay. You can admit to secretly loving nuggets. Most of us, like them, just don't admit to eating them as often as maybe we do. Um, why? Because they're kind of trash as far as food is concerned. Unless you get the ones that are, they are actual chunks of chicken that they've just cut into nuggets, breaded and fried, and they're basically miniature chicken tenders. Um, those are fine. Um, but generally speaking, when you think of the nugget, it is a highly, highly, highly processed chicken product. Um, that contains, in addition to chicken meat, chicken based protein of unknown provenance. Um, it's, depending on the brand and whatnot that you're talking, the style that you're talking about, it could be 50% or more filler. Um, it's breadcrumbs and chemical emulsifiers, meat glue, all sorts of stuff that is not chicken. Um, and so, that's why nutritionists kind of deride them because, you're not really getting a whole lot of chicken in this. And you're not getting a whole lot of high quality chicken in it. It's, the chicken skin, the byproducts. Some of the trimmings that have come off of the slaughterhouse floor. Well, not maybe not the floor, but from the slaughterhouse when they're making parting out chickens to go to grocery stores and whatnot. There's a lot of trimmings and little bits and pieces, including like cartilage and things like that that aren't really good eating, but are technically edible. So they all get ground up with all the aforementioned additives to make this forced meat that is then blow molded into a variety of shapes, breaded, fried, etc. Um, and the funny thing I notice here, so there's just a natural irregularity to these nuggets, but they've discovered that if all the nuggets that you get are the same shape, that people are more likely to suddenly, magically realize that these aren't very natural and they don't like them. So you're almost guaranteed to get at least two, usually three, and sometimes four different shapes of nuggets in a batch or whatever. Somehow that variety kind of tricks your subconscious into thinking you're getting, different cuts of chicken nuggets from the, wild nugget animal or off of the nugget tree. Um, but they're not very good for you. They're not terribly horrible for you, but they are deep fried. They have a lot of chemicals and what blah 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 blah. So a lot of people kind of deride them for their lack of any sort of health benefits. Um, but we still love them. Now, what if, for whatever your reason, you want to go vegetarian? Now, I have kind of poo-pooed vegetarian options or meat substitutes in the past. Not so much because I'm against the idea, but because they're not quite there yet. Most of them aren't quite there yet. The Impossible Burger again was the closest thing that I've come to something that actually uh, could plausibly replace the meat-based original. Generally speaking, the flavor is not quite there. The texture isn't quite there. Um, and it's no huge surprise because meat proteins are just different. If you think about a steak or a hunk of meat, it is animal cells that are um, composed of proteins bound together in a protein matrix and arranged in muscle fibers. Usually, is they're muscle groups that we're eating. Um, Arranged in muscle fibers for even greater tensile strength. And as a result, that gives you a very specific texture and mouthfeel. And the animal proteins themselves are unique to that animal. And so uh, replicating that flavor and texture and aroma, for that matter, with plant-based alternatives, or if you're not too picky about it, chemical alternatives, is hard. Um, the closest we've come to, creating a meat, a non-animal substitute in the lab, it kind of skirts it by just culturing animal cells and then using essentially a 3D printer to print a steak using those animal cells. So, they were shaved off or harvested from an animal at some point, but then the steak that you personally are eating today did not come from a living animal. So, but that kind of plays with semantics more than the reality of a meat based or a meat free uh, substitute. So I kind of poo pooed them because it's just a lot of meat substitutes just don't quite get there, and they're not good enough on their own because they're trying to be that meat. They're not good enough on their own to just eat and just say, okay, this is not uh, an exact copy of the thing it's trying to replace, but it's a decent substitute. So, like like I said, the Impossible Burger, but even back in the day, the old veggie burgers, um, they were definitely not meat, but they weren't bad because they were seasoned well and had a good texture on their own. But they were definitely not meat. But things like uh, you know actual replacement steaks, or the chicken substitutes that use either gluten or seitan or whatever, um, breadfruit or jackfruit. Those things, they're not chicken, they're not steak, and you can tell, and it's off-putting to me. Nuggets, because they're arguably not even 100% meat anyway, and they've been so highly processed, I have more hope that you can actually replace a nugget with uh, a plant-based product. I have today Simulate plant-based nuggets that I'm reviewing. I ran across this in the store. Um, the red sale sticker caught my eye, so I said, okay, let's give this a shot. Simulate plant-based nuggets. Um, Textured wheat protein, breadcrumbs. Okay, I mean, it's a nugget, so breadcrumbs. Sugar, rice flour, yeast. Oh, wait a minute. This is in the breadcrumbs. Never mind. Sorry. So breadcrumbs. Enriched wheat flour in addition to textured wheat protein. Interesting. Soy protein isolate. corn flour, modified food starch, and wheat protein isolate. So there's a lot of wheat, and wheat. And then spices, sunflower oil, methyl cellulose. Okay, so you're a little bit more filler. Um, Baking soda, sodium acid, and pyrophosphate. Okay, texture. Um, so a lot of wheat, some soy. Um, it's going to be not gluten free, obviously, because all the wheat in there. Not particularly keto friendly, because again, it's all grains. Um, but as always, what I'm concerned about is what does it taste like? Let's see here. 5 pieces is a serving, about 3.5 servings per container. 15 grams of carbs for 5 of these nuggets. No fiber, so you don't get that benefit. 10 grams of fat. So there's still, because of all the soybean and sunflower oil, that's primarily where your fat's coming from. Um, Seems to have a decent spring to it. It's solid without being too heavy for being a nugget, but I've got an actually. So I will take one plain first, see how the spicing is. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay. At first, um, the seasoning that was very clearly mixed in with the outer coating is very reminiscent of your standard nugget. There is the actual filling itself is actually a little bit firmer than I was expecting. Um, like the McDonald's nuggets, they're so highly processed that the actual filling is, I won't say creamy, but it's very soft and delicate. It's sort of, you almost don't have to chew it really. This you kind of have to chew. The coating is a little bit chewier too, actually. Um, Feels like it takes a little bit more effort to get my teeth through it. But there is a slightly vegetal aftertaste. It's not strong, it's not really pervasive, and it fades fairly quickly, but it is there. Uh, Try it with some barbecue sauce. Yeah, yeah. Barbecue sauce absolutely obliterates any sort of flavor differences. Which, I mean, the nugget is kind of a vector for getting more barbecue sauce or honey mustard into your face. Um, they do kind of cover up the taste of the chicken itself, which might be the point. Hmm. Not bad, as I suspected, because the nugget is so processed anyway that there is, in some ways, no texture to replicate. Um, you're just replacing one highly processed product for another, and it's just the protein that you're processing um, grew out of the ground rather than in a hen house. Not bad. Um, yeah, I don't mind. Now, this was on sale. Um, it is based on the prices that I saw in my local store. It is about 35-40% more expensive than an equivalent box of standard chicken based nuggets. Um, but it may be worth that little bit for, especially if you're not having nuggets every day. This is sort of a treat thing. It may be worth it to you to spend the extra couple of bucks um, to have a guilt free chicken nugget, or if for whatever reason you're one of the few people who is actually allergic to chicken, um, I've met a couple of people who actually claim to have a sensitivity to chicken specifically. If you want your nuggets, this is obviously the alternative that you can have. Um, it's not bad. I'm going to continue eating these. So, with that review out of the way, I'd like to thank you for watching, and stay tuned for in the coming months for new recipes that I'm going to attempt to redeem. So until next time, I'm Mike Uyak. Thanks for watching.